We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. Peer into the infrared.
Nerds, gamers, and fans, this is Tales from the Infrared! Join us as we dive into fandom and explore comics, gaming, sci-fi, and fantasy, all from a red pill perspective. Hold on to your phasers, it's time for a Nerdgasm! With your hosts, Dean Esme and Christian Chiasson.
Hello everybody, this is Christian Chiasson again. Welcome to Tales from the Infrared. Unfortunately, Dean can't be with us this week. He's dealing with some personal matters. He's fighting off the terrorists, you know, America, fuck yeah.
He's dead to us. He's dead to us.
He's fighting the Balrog guys. We have to remember that.
Yes, and he's also defending Minas Tirith, and he's,
I don't care, he's dead to me.
He's also defending the town from the Beholder. Anyways, so Dean can't be with us. But, again, you've already heard them. There's Jim Calvarn joining us again. How's it going, Jim?
It's going great, Christian. I'm here to have some fun and enjoy myself, as usual.
And the honey badger herself, the geek honey badger herself, Rachel Edwards. How's it going, Rachel?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. Are you getting a robotic voice on your end, or is it just me?
No, we're good.
It's
Okay.
just you.
Okay.
And of course, running the back room as always is our own resident tech engineer, and of course, the patriarch himself, James Huff. He seems to be a bit shy this week. All right.
Well, we are his minions. We are forced to do everything for him.
Yeah,
you know.
he's
He is
supposed-
Gru.
Yeah.
There
he
he is.
He looks like Gru, just so you know, whenever he smiles.
All right, well, I'm going to pass this off. Usually Dean reads out the topics of the show before we get into the discussion, but I think this week I'm going to hand it off to Rachel. Rachel, what's on the ticket for the show?
Well, Doctor Who Series 8 starts August 2014. The first trailer has been recently released. Very exciting. The first teaser trailer for Peter Capaldi's Doctor is out. While it's not much more than his silhouette with fire coming out of the TARDIS console, it does let us know that the return of our favorite Time Lord will be happening in August. Some changes that will be made for the new incarnation of the Doctor is he will be a bit more driven, a bit more serious, and less flirty. Awesome. As stated by Mark Gatiss at the BAFTA Awards, he's a wonderful man and one of our Best Character Actors. I knew immediately from watching other things there was going to be a certain level of twinkly Scottish intensity to him. There's madness in his eyes. He's just an amazing dramatic actor and a very funny actor, which is exactly what you want for the Doctor. Also, we have Talk Soup for Geeks. Nerd enthusiast Will Wheaton storms sci-fi. Will Wheaton has repeatedly been called a geek culture expert. Well, we'll be the judge of that. But he doesn't necessarily see it that way. If the network wants to call me an expert, because that's what makes it easy for people to know what they're coming to look at, then I'm fine with that, he says. I don't apply that label to myself, I'm just a nerd enthusiast. The network Wheaton is talking about is Sci-Fi, and the show he's referring to is the Will Wheaton Project, a weekly roundup hosted by Wheaton that's being billed as Talk Soup for Nerds. As a self-described nerd enthusiast, Wheaton will discuss anything and everything in geek culture that's worth knowing about, exploring, and obsessively discussing, whether it's Game of Thrones, Arrow, Orphan Black, True Blood, or Ghost Adventures. Okay. And after that, we have Basic Dungeons & Dragons will be free in July. And here it is. After all the speculation and putting together of clues and hints, the Basic D&D free PDF has been announced by... I can't pronounce that.
It's Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, sorry. Wizards of the Coast. Sorry, I usually see that written out. It will release in July at the same time as the starter set, and get updates as other books including the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, and even the 2 Tyranny of Dragons adventures are released. Basic D&D is a PDF that covers the core of the game. It's the equivalent of the old D&D rules encyclopedia, though it doesn't have quite the same scope. For example, it won't go into detail on a setting. It runs from levels 1 to 20 and covers the Cleric, Fighter, Rogue, and Wizard, presenting what we view as the essential subclass for each. It also provides the Dwarf, Elf, Halfling, and Human as race options. And finally, Sherlock Season 4 release date. I'm so excited.
Yay!
Yeah! Co-created Mark Gatiss reveals plans for the new season. Sherlock fans would be happy to know that development on Season 4 of the popular British show is underway, and a release date might be announced soon enough. On the BAFTA red carpet recently, Sherlock co-creator Mark Gatiss talked to RadioTimes.com about the highly acclaimed 4th season of the series, and revealed that he and fellow producer Stephen Moffat have moved significantly closer to getting a date in the diary for Series 4. Ever since Sherlock season ended, die-hard fans have been eagerly awaiting to know when they can expect to see Season 4. Previously, gaps between Sherlock seasons were as long as 2 years. Producer Sue Virtue said earlier in 2014 that we're working on it. We're working on dates. Moffat added, we'll get them made as quickly as we can. He also said Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are making some movies, before quipping, if you say, who cares about movies, I agree with you, but they are doing them, so we've got to schedule around that. Hurry up and make more. Get on that, Moffat.
Alright, so we got a Doctor Who Series 8. We got apparently a new show called The Will Wheaton Project happening on Sci-Fi. Sherlock Season 4 is being worked on, as well as Basic Dungeons & Dragons for, I believe they're talking about 5th edition, is going to be free. So the rule book is going to be free in July, so if you're a D&D player and you want to check out 5th edition, go ahead and grab that free PDF. There's a link in the chat. So let's get started. Oh yeah, definitely. James, he's probably frothing at the mouth right now, just waiting to see what
I'm gonna tell you guys. I was a big fan of 3 and 3.5. I'm pretty damn happy with the Pathfinder series of products. When 4.0 came out, it just broke my heart, because all I was seeing was World of Warcraft on paper. And even though every class
had their own abilities with their own ability names. When you actually broke down the numbers, they were all doing the same fucking things.
Well, yeah, because you don't want something overpowered and a supreme class that everybody wants to play, because you do need the occasional heal.
Well, yeah, but the way that they were running all their abilities in 4.0, it looked just like World of Warcraft on paper. I did not get a sense of flavor in that game at all. So I was very disappointed with the product. I played the product. I tested. I did some extensive testing, and I probably dropped a good $200 into picking up the books for it and everything when it first came out. And no, I couldn't do it.
Well, I got the exact same sense with 4th edition. I always thought that, up to and including 3.5, it was mostly about the role play, and the mechanics were just there to sort of facilitate the role playing. But in 4th edition, it's like the mechanics sort of took center stage, and it wasn't really about the role playing anymore. It was just about making your calculations, figuring out what move is going to do the most damage, or what's going to be the more efficient heal, and it was more about the mechanics and not the actual role-playing, which D&D has always been a role-playing game, with role-playing taking center stage.
Don't get me wrong, I can take just about any mechanic system out there, and get some great role-play going on. I mean, that's just a mental journey. But I was not impressed with the mechanics of 4.0 at all. I didn't think it was flavorful enough. So yeah.
But I mean, it seems like we really wanted to. Well, it seems like we're going to be talking about the D&D first. James, here's a question for you. What sort of things are you hoping to find in 5th edition?
Well, say this again. They're thinking about bringing back particular races as actual classes.
No, it's just the rule book. Basic D&D covers the dwarf, elf, halfling, and human as race options, and the classes will be cleric, fighter, rogue, and wizard. Sort of, if you ask me, I think that's a pretty small list of classes and races.
I still remember when elf was an actual class / race. I don't know if you guys actually remember some of the really, really old D&D shit that came out, but things like elf had their own level progression, had their own abilities. You progressed as an elf. You didn't progress as a class. So, yeah, I mean, if they're going to stick with the same formula that they started running with from first edition on, I don't really have a problem with that. I'm curious to know how their die rolls are going to get. I know that with the advent of their new Dungeons & Dragons Online and things of that nature, I think Wizards of the Coast has sort of taken a kick in the balls, because people are just getting tired of a crappy product. They put out a crappy product this last time. They lost a lot of support. A lot of people ran to Pathfinder. A lot of people ran back to Rifts, if you can imagine that. So there you go. Maybe they'll be able to salvage themselves.
Well, I know Wizards of the Coast have been doing that a lot with a lot of their products. That hasn't just been D&D. They did the exact same thing to Magic the Gathering when they, I believe it was the 2010 core set and Rise of the Eldrazi. They introduced the Planeswalkers for Magic the Gathering, the Planeswalkers and the Eldrazi themselves are just absolutely overpowered. I built an elf deck with I believe it was Hand of Emrakul, and I could get Hand of Emrakul out in the third or fourth turn, and he does 9 damage and can't be blocked by anything but 3 creatures at once, with Annihilator 3 or 2, sorry. So not only does he do 9 damage, he can't be blocked except by 3 creatures or more, and my opponent has to sacrifice 2 permanents every single turn.
Last time I played Magic the Gathering was in the mid-90s, and I was running and that's when it was really starting to really take off. And I was running a red-green Goblin Horde deck. All I did was fucking throw goblins out there, as many as I could at one time, and just rush them all at once.
But now, I mean, like,
Zerg Rush right there.
On top of doing that massive amount of damage and making my opponent sack 2 permanents, I also had Nissa Ravane in my deck, which is a Planeswalker card, and it allows me to heal myself every single turn for an amount of life equal to the number of elves I have in play. And if you've ever played an elf deck, you know you at least, on the 3rd or 4th turn, have at least 6 or 7 elves out in play. So every single turn, I'm getting 6, 7 life, 8 the next, 9, 10. It's just, I can't be stopped with this deck. And Wizards of the Coast have been introducing all these overpowered mechanics in all of their games.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, look, even, and I heard the same thing when 3.5 came out. I did hear a lot of discussion, by the guys who were, running 2.0. They were like, I'm dropping D&D altogether. Fucking 3 and 3.5 suck. They're too overpowered, too easy to break. I never had that problem.
I know clerics in 3.5 were incredibly overpowered.
Well, clerics were fucking badass, but I mean, clerics had never received any kind of real love in Dungeons and Dragons. You tell me what the most hated fucking class was in 2.0, and 9 times out of 10, half the people around the table were going to say cleric. It was such a pain in the fucking ass trying to grab a healer for the... Who wants to play the cleric? And everyone fucking...
I always played the cleric.
Not me, not me. No,
I always played the cleric.
But yeah, once 3 and 3.5 came out, everyone was like, I want to play the cleric! So, yeah, I mean, they gave the class a little bit too much love, but, I mean, any DM worth his fucking salt is going to know how to mitigate those types of things. I've been playing friggin' role-playing games since I was 11 years old. God dang, that's 29 years now. DMing for over 20 of those years. And, after the first 4 to 5 years of really hard roleplay and picking up a DMing spot, you learn how to work around some of these mechanics.
If I may jump in, it says, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've read the Dungeon Master's Guide, but it says within the first couple of pages that the Dungeon Master can throw out some of the mechanics if he doesn't like them.
Sure, there's always been house rules.
Yeah, it's one of house rules. D&D has always had this idea of house rules, and what house rules allow the Dungeon Master to do is to completely ignore whatever rules he deems fit for his or her campaign. I should say.
How many people here remember the original Unearthed Arcana?
I do.
How many people own
I can't quote it, but
of the original Unearthed Arcana? The original Unearthed Arcana was actually all these playtesters getting together and saying, "Hey, we've been running these house rules, and we think it would be a great idea if we put them in a book and let everybody take a look at it." This is where you came up with all the kick-ass fucking cantrips. This is where you came up with the Cavalier class. This is where Rangers really started getting fleshed out with 2-weapon fighting. This is where you started running across some very interesting artifacts and some historical references, all within the Unearthed Arcana. They have always said, run your house rules. Now, when taking a look at the mechanics of 4.0, as compared to 3 and 3.5, you tell me how much movement there was inside the rules for the Dungeon Master to be able to put house rules.
Very little.
Very little in 4.0, and 3.5. If I thought a certain clerical feat was overpowered, or if I didn't think that gnomes existed in a particular location, it was never an issue. 4.0, I might have been able to cut out the gnomes, but it would have been next to impossible to make any class alterations and maintain the integrity of the mechanics. You couldn't maintain the integrity of the mechanics with house rules in 4.0, and that really fucking pissed me off.
So, I mean, back to the original question. In 5th edition, which it seems like this rule book is going to be for, what are you hoping to see? What are you hoping that they change? What are you hoping that they improve? Is there anything that you hope that they would remove entirely?
I'm actually hoping that they'll take the flavor back in time. I really am. I would absolutely love to see more of the original 1st edition nitty-gritty style of rules gaming. I sort of, that when I look back, and some people could say, "Oh, that's just your fucking nostalgia talking." No, it's really not. There was a lot of substance with the original 1st edition rules that I think has been lost for quite some time. So getting back to keeping that structured level of play that they introduced in 1st edition would be great. Going ahead and moving forward with their regular class combinations, and simply allowing the DMs to have the latitude to make up their own class or class combinations and or PRCs in effect, would be great, which is something that they're lacking right now.
See, I'd like to get back to a little bit more of the role playing, a little bit more of the let's see if I can do this. Let me go out on a limb and try something crazy.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right up front. Role play is what it is. Game mechanics notwithstanding. Okay, I can take almost any game with some crazy ass game mechanics and tell a story. Get some role play in, make people care about what's happening in the world that I've created. That the role play is to some degree very separate from the game mechanics. So I mean, as far as role play is concerned,
Well, what I'm talking about, one of my favorite things that I used to do was I would try crazy ass shit like jumping on an orc's back or an ogre's back, some big ass monster's back, and just trying to shove my sword into a weak spot. And sometimes this is what some of the DMs would do to me is I would land and then roll off, or I would get the perfect landing, but I'd break my weapon.
And those being able to pull off moves like that, those are probably never, at least I hope they're never, actually going to be detailed inside of rule books, because then you end up with 50 million ways of rules lawyering because of the level of detail involved. There's a reason why Rifts is not as popular as what I think it could have been, and it's because of the 50 quadrillion fucking rules for everything that they have in there. But keeping it short and sweet, keeping basic abilities like jumping, swimming, things like, I'd love to see a return to that, maybe an athletics or acrobatic skill or something like that. Yeah. And if the DM wants to let you climb the nearest fucking giant and stab him in the back of the neck with your short sword, fine. You'll make whatever appropriate rolls with whatever circumstance bonuses or penalties you've accrued along the way.
Right, but what I was seeing was Dungeons and Dragons getting away from that stuff, getting away from just doing the heroic feats, for lack of a better way of putting it, and going towards, okay, let's box it in and make it a little bit harder on people. And no, I mean, let us have some latitude. If you roll, say, 3 natural 20s, why not have it an insta kill?
Oh yeah, I've done that before.
I mean, even a ranger with a with like multiple natural 20s, one shot killing a dragon, I can see that because it's like the perfect, perfect through the eye into the brain.
Right.
It's possible.
Right.
Granted, it's really difficult, and you got to adjust for that. But
So we had this crazy ass monk who was in the party, and everyone was fighting this troll. Nobody had ever seen or heard of trolls before. They had no idea what the hell they were fighting. This crazy ass monk grabs hold of a limb above him and swings on it, and plants his feet right into the troll's head. 3 natural 20s in a row on a d20. Okay, just for anyone who doesn't know, that's a 20-sided die. But he rolled 20 3 times in a row. Now, I couldn't actually make the troll dead, but I did go ahead and tell him, okay, well, the troll has fallen. And then the troll started moving, and then somebody stabbed the troll. And then for the next 45 minutes, someone just kept stabbing the troll over and over and over again to make sure it stayed down, while everyone's trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do with it. And eventually they figured out, fire works. And they were able to burn the troll. But you lost that sense of improvisation with 4.0, and that's what we're really talking about here. Is the ability to look at your rule set and actually figure out ways of improvising new moves or new abilities, or at least being able to say, yes, we can roll this, or we can roll that, because it's an option that is available that can define what we're trying to improv. You lost that in 4.0, which is unfortunate.
Well, I know, there was actually this one time I was playing a Deva cleric, and we had defeated a Dracolich, and we had found our way to the Nether, and we had to cross the Nether with this Dracolich, because the only way to destroy a Dracolich for good, there's some place in the Nether where you have to take the bones in order to destroy it. And so we were crossing the Nether with this, knocked out Dracolich sort of sitting on like a cart that our Minotaur was pulling, and it started waking up. Now, me as a Deva cleric, it was probably a stupid idea to risk it, but I did anyways. I jumped on the Dracolich with a really, really low acrobatic rating. I think my acrobatic rating was something like 4. But I made it, and I knocked out the Dracolich, and there was nothing the DM could do because we were playing 4.0. He had absolutely no wiggle room to say, okay, well, you made it, but because you have this acrobatic penalty, there's this, you slip and now you're hanging on to the cart and somebody has to save you. There was absolutely nothing he could do, which sort of removed all sense of, I guess, risk from that move.
Yeah, and that's part of my issue with some of the later editions is you got to have the sense of risk. You take a really, really crazy idea, jumping down onto the back of a dragon, with putting your short sword right through the base of its neck. You got a space of maybe 2 feet wide. If you don't have the skill for that, it just doesn't. You're not going to try something like that. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I've actually tried jumping about 6 feet 6 feet down onto something about 2 feet wide, and 90% of the time I fell on my ass.
I've had more than one character die trying heroic moves like that. Riding a griffin. Griffin's injured as hell. You see the guy riding the dragon below you. You think you can get there and kill the guy, and then at least slam the dragon into the ground. And you miss, and you plummet, and you fall a couple thousand feet to your death.
And flat.
Yep. I've done that. It sucks.
Oh god, having to re-roll a character that you put like months into for a game or a storyline, and oh my god, yeah, that was always the biggest, most disappointing thing in the game. But when you did it, you were like, I actually tried to do something. Yes, I lost, I failed, but you still, even though you failed, you just like it's still the sense of honor among gamers where I tried to do it. Yes, I failed, but god damn it, I went out in a blaze of fucking glory.
Yep. Anybody here remember the original Immortal rule set that came out?
Oh, I never played with it. I always sat there whenever my brother would try and bring those in. I'm like, come on, it's not worth it.
Well, I mean, this was back when you were in first edition, when your maximum level, expanded levels, mind you, was sitting around 30 or so.
Right.
And by the time you hit between 30 and 36th level, you were practically a demigod on your own. And this Immortal rule set was specifically designed to allow your characters to be able to be sponsored and become sort of a deity of the realms. You know, a demigod, and then eventually, a lesser deity. And so I had been playing this character for almost 8 years. It was the second character that I had ever rolled up. He actually managed to survive. I'd been playing with him for 8 years. And this is before I started DMing. And this guy brought out the Immortal rule set, and we were rolling through. He had converted a majority of that rule set over to a second edition style. And I'll be damned if the last friggin' thing I needed to do I failed at. A Tarrasque. Everybody here know what a Tarrasque is?
No, I forgot. It's been a while.
Okay, a Tarrasque is this huge... A Tarrasque is this huge, hulking, horrible fucking monster whose teeth are like swords of sharpness. Its carapace is completely reflective as far as spells are concerned. You have to not only knock it down to negative 30 hit points, but you have to use a high-powered spell called Wish in order for it to truly die. I mean, it was just a monstrosity.
And I've heard about those. Like they're like the last thing you ever want to encounter.
It is the last thing you ever want to encounter. But this thing pops up out of the ground, and I'm thinking, okay, I think I can win. I think I can take it. But there's this jealous fucking demigod who was interfering with my test of immortality, and he cast a hold person spell on me. And
what?
Yep. This is before a lot of the immunities really started picking up, and I didn't have a really, really high wisdom. I was very intelligent, not very wise. And I rolled a 1 on my saving throw. I rolled a fucking 1 on my saving throw. The very, very last friggin' thing I had to do in order to make this character be an immortal. And I rolled a 1. 8 years! 8 fucking years of role-playing the same character. I rolled a 1. And all I could do was stand there as the Tarrasque swallowed me whole.
That sucks.
Oh man, I have a few characters that, they lasted into the 20s, but I was always doing the crazy ass shit that would get my characters killed. So for all 3 of the characters that got into the 20s, I probably had about 10 to 12 that never made it past level 5. And so I know exactly how... I may not know exactly how you feel, James, but oh my god. Yes, I remember every time I've lost a character, and you get so invested in some of these characters, and the longer you play with them, the more you love to play them.
Oh yeah, well, the DM pretty much shrugged, said, well, yeah, this shit happens. But he gave me an idea, and that idea is what sort of springboarded me into becoming a DM on my own. He said, look, what I'm going to do you a favor, because, this demigod really wasn't supposed to be messing with you like that. We're just going to divide your soul into 12 parts, and then maybe next time you start DMing, you can start pulling a party together, and they can go out and look for these 12 aspects and bring them all into one, and then your character can, rise into the heavens. And so after about 5 years of DMing, that finally happened. And so, there's a lot of inspiration to be taken there as far as the pure roleplay is concerned. I think the game engines do help facilitate that roleplay. They are not the end-all, be-all. But I had expectations with 4th edition that were not met when it came to the game mechanics, and I'm really hoping that they bring back a sense of openness with 5th edition.
I hope so too. That's actually very much my hope on that. I would love to see the geeks rise up and talk about this on the forums and whatnot, and just bring back the love of the game. And speaking of talking about geeky things, how about we move on to a certain White Knight Supreme by the name of oh God, what's his name? Will Wheaton.
Oh.
All right, let's do it.
I know, Jim. I know you've been saying that you don't like Will Wheaton.
Well, you got to go back to Will Wheaton's famous tagline of "Don't be a dick," and if you're going to sit there and say something like "Don't be a dick," you need to follow through and not be a dick. But how does "Don't be a dick" happen when you get someone fired?
Yeah. Could you give us some background on that for people that may not know?
Let me Google that for a second. You guys talk amongst yourselves, and I will give you the background.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I always thought Will Wheaton was a pretty cool guy myself. I mean, I watch videos of him giving, talks at nerd conventions like Comic-Con, and I remember recently watching this video. He was asked by a smaller child, I think it was like a 6 or 7 year old, asked him if he was ever called a nerd and how he dealt with it, and he gave this just incredibly insightful answer about the bullies that pick on you. they're mad because their own situation. They may have parents that are forcing them to do one thing that they don't want to do, and they can't be mean to their parents, so they be mean to you, and just
yeah.
It was a very, very insightful answer, and I thought he was like really, really cool for giving this 7-year-old or maybe it was a 5-year-old this really, really cool answer that pretty much just said, yeah, if you're a nerd, don't ever apologize for loving something the way you love it.
Well, I mean, can we talk about a bit about the whole Talk Soup for Nerds kind of deal? That sort of a show that he's...
yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, I have mixed feelings about these kinds of things whenever they try to, really make a show about nerd culture. I always feel like maybe they go the stereotypical route, or maybe sometimes they just don't quite get it. I don't think I've ever seen a show so far that's done that sort of nerd news thing, at least on television, that has really captured what we're about.
Well, I mean, there's Chris Hardwick, who he does a good job trying, but I think Chris Hardwick sort of pushes it a little too far. As if he's trying to seem like a genuine nerd, and maybe he is, but it seems to me like the Chris Hardwick on TV is completely different from the Chris Hardwick in real life. But yeah, I mean, other than Chris Hardwick, I mean, we haven't really had too many geek shows that talk about why nerds love these things and why we love them so obsessively.
Yeah, it's
and
always
how
just,
nerds see the world.
It's always really just the surface stuff, like, oh, this new thing is coming out, or it's like here are here's just the news, but they never really talk about their passion as much. I think we saw a bit of the passion on Comic Book Men, but I only saw 1 or 2 episodes of that.
Okay, getting back to the Will Wheaton thing. Basically, Ryan Perez was calling out Felicia Day for not contributing to geek culture for anything other than retaining a geek persona. And while I will admit I like Felicia Day, she's a decent actress, she's kind of cute, and the Guild was hilarious. She really doesn't bring a whole lot to geek culture, except for maybe bringing it a little bit more into the mainstream. But, yeah, he's calling her out, saying, hey, what do you actually bring to geek culture? And, Will Wheaton goes out of his way to get this guy fired.
Okay, yeah, I remember reading his piece, and I didn't quite 100% agree with it. But honestly, yeah, I would have to say if Will Wheaton got this guy fired just for expressing an opinion, I think that's a pretty big dick move on his part.
And that's why I have a problem with Wheaton. Yes, he is the quintessential nerd. I mean, you go to Comic-Con, he's hosting like 5 panels, just based upon the fact that he was Wesley Crusher in Star Trek. He is when you think of geek, you think of nerd, you think of Will. A lot of times people think of Will Wheaton. I mean, he's made how many appearances on Big Bang Theory? But, his tagline, don't be a dick, and yet somebody expresses an opinion that maybe it's unpopular, granted, but he's expressing as an opinion, and then you go out of your way to get the guy fired?
Yeah, I have to say that's a pretty big dick move.
Yeah. So that's where I lost a lot of respect for Will Wheaton. Regardless of whether he is the quintessential nerd or not, he's a hypocrite and an asshole.
Yeah,
I'll go on record for saying that.
I don't want to, like, I do agree with Ryan Perez in a way, but I don't. I mean, he says that Felicia Day hasn't contributed anything to geek culture. Is he forgetting about the web series that she created?
The Guild.
She has made a contribution to geek culture, albeit I will say that in the Guild, it's okay. Maybe it's not World of Warcraft that they're supposedly playing, but she gets a lot of shit wrong in the script. But still, I mean, she does contribute to geek culture with the
I'll
Guild.
give you she does contribute, and I will give you that she does do a decent job, but I mean, is the contribution all that great? I mean, I think that's what he was basically asking is her contribution all that much?
And you know, for some people it might be. I mean, a lot of people, like, there's a lot of people who love the Guild, and there's a lot of people who can't fucking stand it. I'm sort of in the middle. I mean, it's not the greatest thing out there. But it's not the worst thing out there either. I do enjoy watching it, but there are many other things that I would rather watch in terms of web series, like The Reckoning, for example, a great web series. About, you know, Wild Wild West sort of vampires and werewolves. Great web series. If you haven't heard about it, check it out.
Oh, I'm gonna have to.
And but the Guild, sure, I'll sit down, I'll watch it, and I'll enjoy watching it. I get the gist of what they're trying to say, despite so many errors that they make in the script. But I mean, is her contribution great? I wouldn't say it's great. I'd say it's good, but not great.
Yeah, and that's my biggest issue is sitting there and saying, oh, because she is extremely popular, and I have to say she's extremely popular based upon being a pretty redhead who's bringing geek culture in. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, she's famous for her part in what was it, Eureka? Her cameo appearances in various shows like Supernatural. She
did a couple of cameos in Dollhouse. She's on the Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog occasionally, and
she was on one episode of House.
Yeah, a lot of it is nothing more than cameos all over the place. Mm-hmm. What was it? She did a full episode of Dragon Age, full movie of Dragon Age, which I thought was decent. Nothing phenomenal, but it's worth mentioning. What was it? The Adventures. It's kind of like a spoof on Adventures of Link. I forgot what the name of that one is. And she does some cameo appearances in there as like she was a pregnant fairy that had kids.
Well, she's made some decent contributions to geek culture, but if anybody wants to sit there and make the claim that her contributions are at the level of J.R.R. Tolkien or George R.R. Martin, I would have to say you're fucking insane if you think that her contributions are on the same level. They're not. They're decent contributions. Some of them are really good, some of them not so much, but they're not great.
I wouldn't even put her contributions as high as, say, someone like Claudia Black, Ben Browder. Her contributions are at best minor, yet she's more popular than some of these. Than some of these. What is it? Claudia Black is Morrigan from the Dragon Age series. She's she's in she's in Stargate, Farscape, Pitch Black. I could go on, but comparatively, what has Felicia Day really done?
Very little, comparatively.
Yet, she is held up in higher esteem than
I mean, she goes to as many conventions as she possibly can find the time to go to, and she speaks at panels. She's heralded as like the quintessential geek woman, but her contributions don't warrant the sort of attention she gets.
Yes, and I sadly think she's just the only reason she has the level of acclaim she has is because she's friends with Will Wheaton. Firefly director,
Joss Whedon.
creator, Joss Whedon. It's a case of it's not what you know, it's not what you contribute, it's who you're blowing.
Wow.
I wouldn't say she's blowing anybody, but she's got the right friends.
I'm being an
right
asshole
places.
when I say that, but yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. In Hollywood culture, definitely. I mean, you could be an absolute fucking nobody, but if you know the right people, you could be as big as fucking
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, yeah.
Yeah, you could be as big as Patrick Stewart, as long as you know the right type of people in Hollywood culture. And I think that's where there's a giant disconnect, is that they're trying to mash nerd culture and Hollywood culture together like it's the exact same thing. No, it's not. I mean, nerds like us, we don't give a shit who you know. Do you know your shit? Like, are you in love with something? Are you obsessive about it? Do you not give a shit what other people think of you for liking it that much?
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care if you know Sir Ian McKellen or Matt Smith or Stephen Moffat. I don't give a shit who you know.
But if you met Gary Gygax before he died, I want to hear all about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing, is it's not based upon the merit of the person and what they bring to the table. It's based upon who you know. It's based upon who your friends are. And I'm sorry, it's not a merit. Please go ahead. I want to hear what you mean.
No, I'm just saying I disagree with the premise that it's about who you know. I don't accept that is an acceptable way to make your moves in geek culture.
Okay. But it sure seems like it may not be in geek culture, but I think it is definitely in Hollywood culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to get everything running more along the lines of Hollywood culture, whereas the real world, geek culture, everything else, doesn't run that way. Yep. It's based more upon your merit and what you bring to the table, not who you know. Yeah. Or in some cases, and I know I'm going to get shit for this, who you're fucking.
That I would agree with.
I see the floor.
I don't know.
Although,
I'm done.
If you did fuck Gary Gygax before he died, I want to know all about it.
You want to know all about it? You want to touch them.
I was going to say, you want the porno if it's available.
I bet they roll a die to find out what position they were going to take. Yeah.
Natural 20. That's doggy.
Oh, I hope so. Aw, but then you'd be less likely to get it. That's my favorite position.
Note to self.
Okay. Shit just got real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, I think I'm done talking about Felicia's Day and Will Wheaton. I mean, I still think for the most part, overall in general, Will Wheaton's a really cool guy. He's very, very blue pill, and I don't think he's going to change that anytime soon. But I mean, when it comes to feminist issues, he's wrong. I disagree with him wholeheartedly. But when it comes to a lot of other shit, I do agree with him a lot. Especially when he's defending nerds and defending being a nerd. I think he has a lot of insight.
I agree with you. I'm not discounting him as a source for defending nerds and whatnot. I'm trying to keep it honest about who this person is. I don't see him as being wrong in a lot of senses, but at the same time, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, we can't always take him as an end-all be-all because he's A, human, and B, occasionally going to be wrong.
I'm gonna throw a huge point of disagreement in here at this time.
What, you don't think he's human?
See, if he defends nerds in the same way that he defends feminists, I don't want him defending nerds, because it's based off a bunch of postmodern bullshit. You don't defend nerds because the feels. You defend nerds based on the merits of nerddom. Okay, and if his approach toward defense of the geek community is anything like his approach towards his defense of feminism, I don't want to have anything to do with him.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, that
I'm
is
going to go with. I'm on James's side here.
Yeah, I mean, the defense of it should be that, we're passionate individuals and not that we're the little guy and oppressed and all that other shit. It should be that, we have really great interests, we bring a lot to society through that passion.
The defense should be,
Merit.
have you ever spent 72 fucking hours drinking homemade grog with all your friends, hanging out, running a game for that long, and then crash for about 18 hours afterwards, and wake up and think about doing it again?
All the fucking time.
Have you ever considered getting a wizard cloak? Seriously.
Have you ever considered LARPing or going to a Renaissance fair? I mean, this is,
Yes.
this is the defense in and of itself. The defense is through our own action, and the merit of that action. Period. I'm sitting here on this radio show. I consider myself relatively rounded out person. I've taken my licks in life. I was served my time in the military. I friggin' understand the computer basics. I know how to do a little programming. I've filled so many fucking shoes. I don't hang my hat on the fact that I'm a geek, but I sure as hell know what I love, and I love fucking role-playing. And if that puts me into being a geek, that's fine. But that's not all I am.
Yeah, I agree with James. I mean, I know I've taken time off of work when an expansion for a game that I love playing comes out. I staunchly defend most of the games I play, even though I've had people sit there and say SWTOR is a piece of shit. I'm like, can you name another MMO that's based on Star Wars in any way? Star Wars Galaxies. I defended the hell out of that, with the exception of after they screwed over the community multiple times. But BioWare hasn't screwed over the community much. But I still, these are the fandoms that I get into, and I will defend to the death my fandoms, just like any other geek.
Yeah.
I know Rachel and I go
on.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. One more thing. I know Rachel and I have gotten into it several times over her pony love.
Hey, you leave the ponies alone.
I'm not dissing the ponies this time. I'll diss the ponies later, but not right now.
However, I've gotten in so many fights with people before on things like how I disagree with Peter Jackson. I still think he was better before he had a big budget. When he was doing like those really, fucked up horror comedies and shit like that. I would have rather had that Peter Jackson instead of the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson. I know I'm gonna get shit for that. I don't.
But like I said, I mean, she and I have gone back and forth on the ponies. I'm not a big fan. She's a huge fan, but I still respect the fact that she's defending her ponies
and my bronies.
All right. Well, we still have Doctor Who and Sherlock to talk about. I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
We can put them together. It is Moffat.
Oh, Moffat.
It might be Stephen Moffat writing for both shows, but they're two completely different shows.
Actually, I believe Moffat does more producing for Sherlock than he does directing. Or writing.
Whichever. They're two completely different shows with two completely different premises. The only thing they have in common is that the main character is extremely clever.
Yes.
I love both the shows. I love both the characters. But I say we go with Sherlock first and leave Doctor Who for last because.
All right.
Yes.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea because when I get talking Doctor Who, I don't shut up.
Yeah, and we're running low on time anyway. So, okay, Sherlock.
Yeah, so season 4.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm excited.
I've read a large portion of the Sherlock, the original Sherlock books and writings by Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm sorry, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He deserves that. And a lot of what they do is they take it directly from those and put it in modern times, which is why I'm such a huge fan of the show. And so I can't wait to see what else they bring this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, so far they've done 9 of the books and the short stories, including the Reichenbach Fall, which, to a lot of people, the Reichenbach Fall was actually the best Sherlock Holmes story ever written. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they do better with Season 4, considering they've already done what most people consider the best Sherlock Holmes story and content.
Was that in Season 3?
I believe that was the end of Season 2, actually.
Yeah, it was.
Jumped off of the building.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm interested to find out what happens next because spoiler, Moriarty is back, and I'm thinking, how the fuck did he survive? I want to know.
How did Sherlock survive? I mean, come on.
Okay. They don't give as many. He doesn't. I don't know if he actually says exactly how it happens. Does he? Or was that just speculation? I forget. I think they show
at the starting of Season 3. They show how Sherlock survived, and it was this big sort of act.
That was somebody's idea of what he thinks happened. In fact, they do that throughout that episode. They show different people's versions of how they think it happened, but I don't think he ever actually comes out and says exactly word for word how it happens.
Really? Because I think he did.
I could be wrong. I think he didn't go into all the details, but he starts explaining. I don't know. I forget. I think he did towards the end of the episode, not the beginning part. The beginning part was somebody else's speculation about it.
Great, now I gotta go back and I gotta watch the 3 seasons of Sherlock again.
Yeah. Oh, well, it'll be a good weekend, though.
Yeah, it will. But I had so many other plans.
It's got such great rewatchability on it. Then that's the thing that I really love about the series. There are so many series that are very, very heavy, and they don't have much rewatchability. You just don't feel like you can just... It's so heavy, you don't feel like it. You're like, I don't know if I really want to watch this again. But with Sherlock, the way it's done, it's always a pleasure rewatching it.
And you catch things you missed the first time you watched it.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting to me because, I mean, Stephen Moffat, I don't think Stephen Moffat is anywhere near as clever as the characters that he writes, and yet when he writes a character, the character is so goddamn clever. And the story is just so incredibly broad.
It's easy to make someone clever when you control the outcome.
That's true.
Get out! I have to go to my mind palace.
It's hard role-playing a character who's more intelligent than yourself.
Yeah.
Very.
Yes. But it's easy to role-play one who's dumber.
Yeah. That's easy.
Hulk smash. Oh,
Hulk smash, yeah. Hulk smash.
Well, I mean, it seems like we don't really have much to talk about with Sherlock. I mean, we know they're working on it. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, they're off doing other movies. Not exactly sure what Benedict Cumberbatch is working on, but I know Martin Freeman is they're still working on the third part of the Hobbit series. But they're working on season 4, and that's essentially all the information we have right now.
I'm sorry, The Hobbit should have only been 2 movies, and
it should have only been 1.
Yeah.
It should have only been 1. I mean,
unfortunately,
The Hobbit is the smallest of the 4 books. Like, keep that in mind. The Hobbit is only about half the size of the smallest Lord of the Rings book.
And they had to bring in all those other side plots that weren't really necessary.
Well,
like,
see,
if they can fit
too,
the Fellowship of the Ring into a single movie, they could have done the same thing with The Hobbit.
Well, they could have done that with every single book that they've turned into 2 movies. What is it? Breaking Dawn, The Final Harry Potter.
Oh, God, why do you even have to mention fucking Breaking Dawn? I try to forget the Twilight series.
Fucking Twilight.
The fucking
I can't stand Twilight.
The fucking series. If I even hear the name Stephanie Meyer, I'm overcome with rage.
Stephanie Meyer.
That someone even like this woman even got published. And I remember reading her talking about how she got published. She's like, I sent it out so many times, and I had to go through all of these publishers, and none of them really wanted to even touch it because it was a piece of shit, woman.
It was a 13-year-old girl's sexual fantasy.
No, it's not even a 13-girl. It's her fantasy. She talks about how she had a dream about a sparkly vampire, this Adonis of a man, and they were talking about their life. This is her fucking wank fantasy.
It's abstinence porn.
Or why Mormon housewives shouldn't write vampire fiction or any kind of fiction.
Personally, it's the best. It's the best argument against any type of vampire fiction written by a female, with the exception, and I will addendum that to Anne Rice. Anne Rice can write vampires anytime she wants.
Yeah, she can do that anytime she wants it. Weirdly enough, she's very religious. You never would have expected that with all the gay undertones.
Actually, I would expect it.
I am not surprised whatsoever. The religious, the super religious, are some of the most fucked up people on the planet. They're have the most morbid thoughts. Yes, they are the most sexually frustrated, and they have the most morbid thoughts out of everyone on the planet. You would be actually, you wouldn't be surprised.
Well, actually, you would be surprised if you listened to them and then you figured out how they actually are. I wouldn't be surprised if a certain dominatrix that we know hasn't had several preachers in her dungeon.
Yeah. And he's not talking about me. I'm not that interesting.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's move on. Shall we?
Doctor Who.
Yes.
Doctor Who, yes.
Doctor Who. Finally,
I wish
we got
we could
a teaser
play
trailer.
the intro.
Peter fucking Capaldi.
We have a teaser trailer, and honestly, I was kind of disappointed with the teaser trailer. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a great fucking season. But I was just very disappointed with the teaser trailer because really it was just the title it was a title card, and then it switches over to a silhouette of Peter Capaldi in the TARDIS with it on fire, and then back to a title card, then back to him, and then that was the end.
Pretty much.
I mean, what do you guys think is going to happen in Series 8? Are we going to get a Scottish Doctor, a proper Scottish Doctor? Because I know David Tennant, he's a Scottish actor, but he still played a British Doctor.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna get a Scottish Doctor. That's just my opinion. I think that's the way we're going. I mean, he sounded pretty Scottish when we saw him for that little bit at the end of the last episode of last season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I've seen so far, the Doctor is he is a rogue Time Lord, and he doesn't have his regrets. He doesn't have his. He's not upset about losing the Time Lords anymore. He is the rogue Time Lord he used to be. He's back to being more of the badass that we were used to.
And I know a lot of people were really, really pissed off about the literal Deus Ex Machina that happened in the last special. That was because basically they gave him a pass. They're saying, okay, well, here you go. Here's some more lives. We don't know how many lives you've been given, but literally we're going to give you power from above so you don't have to die.
Well, essentially, I mean, all of the Time Lords essentially gave him their regeneration energy through some sort of void from within
literally from the
essentially
heavens.
A time lock. Okay, the moment in the. And that was
No
actually I think that was the last. It's not a spoiler. Okay, if you haven't seen the Series 7 final episode yet, it's been out for over a year.
Yeah,
Too fucking
tough.
bad. Too
Tough,
fucking
man.
bad. If you haven't seen the 50th anniversary special yet, tough. Too fucking bad. It's been out for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Yep.
So here he was, Matt Smith, he's a very old man at this point, trapped in a town called Christmas. And he was essentially the sheriff of the town. And when Clara finally finds him again, he's an old man, and they discover that Gallifrey is on the other side of the... there's like a fucking portal of some sort.
I think it goes back
a crack
to
in the wall.
Well, I was going to say, I think it goes back to the crack in the skin of the universe from when Matt Smith was first introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
So they didn't all close.
Yeah.
And Gallifrey is, trapped in the moment, which John Hurt's Doctor used. Well, I guess all three of them used it together.
13. All 13.
Yes, all 13.
They all used the moment to sort of lock Gallifrey into this time lock bubble where they're no longer part of the universe, but time just stops. And so all of the Time Lords from Gallifrey give the Doctor their regeneration power through this void, and the question is it just like when River Song gave him her regeneration power, and he only gets one more, or is he going to get another 12 full regenerations, and this will cover it for the next 30 years of Doctor Who?
We don't know.
Who knows? That's one of many questions that might be answered. I mean, you also go in Peter Capaldi. Okay, was he fucking with Clara when he said, "How do you fly this thing?" Or was it really
regeneration sickness, that sort of deal?
Yeah.
The after effects. It very well could be that. And we very well could be looking at a Doctor who doesn't know how to fucking fly this thing right now for a while.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to go into Voyagers, an old '80s TV show? The guy didn't know how to go. It was like a time travel thing. He had to dial the thing, but a little compass type thing to travel through time. But he lost the manual as to how to do it. Is that what we're going to be seeing?
I reserve the right to make Malcolm Tucker jokes, though, throughout all of this. Whatever, yeah, we fucking time traveled, yes?
Well, I mean, like, with almost every regeneration of the Doctor, there's some period where he has to adjust. When Christopher Eccleston regenerated into David Tennant, he was sort of, like, knocked out for a bit, and Rose brought him back home, put him in bed, and that was a Christmas special with the robot Santas who were trying to kill them, and so he was sort of incapacitated.
One of my favorites. I know that everybody likes Tennant, my favorites.
With Matt Smith, he was stuck kind of a little fucked up in the head and missing a lot of the stuff that the Doctor normally catches for a while.
Until he had the fish fingers and custard.
No, even after that.
Well, even after that, he was still sort of like, smacking himself in the head.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I mean, every single time when the Doctor regenerates, there's always a period of time where he has to adjust, and he's not quite himself. And so it's entirely possible that he has temporarily forgotten how to fly the TARDIS.
Yeah, I can see that, and I'm wondering what they're going to do. I mean, what's changed? A friend of mine sent me a message, and he's like, Time Lords have the cap for a reason after the time... have the regeneration cap for a reason. After the Time War, he could have infinite regenerations. Who knows?
It's possible. I just want to know if at the end of Series 7, he seemed like he figured out a way to get Gallifrey free from the time lock bubble that it's in.
Well, the thing with it is...
But he didn't outwardly say it. It was almost like, oh my god, they're still alive, even though he knew pretty much all along that they were still alive.
The problem with it
when
is...
they come through with and kill the Master...
Yeah.
I mean, the Time Lords come through.
Yeah,
a portal.
That was the end of Tennant's run.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with it is what they were asking was for his name in order to make sure that it was safe. It wasn't safe. They had every enemy of the Doctor there trying to stop the Time Lords, because what happens if you get the Time Lords back when a single Time Lord is scary enough to all these creatures? What happens when his whole kind comes back?
Yeah.
Well, which sort of actually does bring to question an error. I mean, why did the Time War wage for so long against the Daleks if all it takes is one Time Lord to screw their plans over time and time again? You would think an entire race of Time Lords would have been able to end it within a day. I never quite understood that.
I think it's I think it's the supervillain theory. The more supervillains you have in something, the more they act like children. And with one Time Lord, he's phenomenal. He's the last of his kind. He's going to be screwing shit up for the bad guys. But I also think that he is an anomaly. He's the the extreme genius level, whereas most average people, they're not going to make it to that level. But his enemies don't know that.
No, that makes sense.
That would make sense.
He's a level 30 Time Lord. Most of them are only level 4 or 5.
Yes, D&D and Doctor Who. I might actually try and write a module.
There's already a Doctor Who role-playing game, if I remember. but I've never played it though. But I've heard that you can just do a variety of different characters. But I would imagine they would downplay. It would be very difficult to stat out a Time Lord. You certainly wouldn't be like Doctor Who at all. I think he's a non-playable character.
Well, I would think that if anybody were to actually make a Doctor Who module for D&D, I would assume the Dungeon Master would play the role of the Doctor, and all of the players would just be like his companions.
Yeah.
I would play that. I would play the hell out of that. I would be the first person, as far as I could tell. I would be signing up for the beta, whatever you want, whatever. I don't care. I think that would be phenomenal. Having the Doctor in D&D just for one fucking storyline. I don't care. I think that would be amazing. I'm geeking out right there.
That's giving me ideas. I might actually try and write a module.
James, DM it.
You got to do it, man.
I don't have enough information about Doctor Who to be able to DM something like that successfully. Because it's very world specific. You know, I could get away with like DMing certain portions of the Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk, and you know, then I've got my own realm which has been in development for 20 years now. But you know, to going into somebody else's world and attempting to DM it, I just don't have enough information about Doctor Who to successfully do that.
Well, all you really need to know is that if you want to do more of an Earth-based kind of game, you just have to remember that if there's anything supernatural going on, it's aliens. That's the answer. Aliens.
Yeah. It's not magic, it's aliens.
Aliens.
However, what I want to know about Season 8 is he going to try and free the Time Lords now that he knows that, you know, if they can send their regeneration power through the void, then he can get to them, or he can pull them through. So is he gonna try and save the Time Lords in Series 8, or is he gonna try and stop them from breaking through?
If you remember at the very end of the 50th anniversary, who made the appearance? What was it he was saying?
Oh crap! That's a good question.
That was, if I remember correctly, that was Tom Baker.
Yes, it was Tom Baker. He was working in a museum, if I recall.
That's right.
And they hinted that it was actually in the painting, that Gallifrey was in the painting. Or I could be wrong.
No, they were hinting at what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. They
were hinting at him that Gallifrey was lost. Maybe it's up to him to find it, and that maybe he'd go back and revisit some old favorite doctors along the way.
See, I'm thinking that this is going to go more old school in the way it's going to play out. If he can't drive the TARDIS, what they may or may not do is have this be a very Earth-centered story towards the beginning. And somehow they end up back on Earth, and they're going around doing stuff like that.
Well, I mean, you could say they end up on Earth, but I mean, if the Doctor can't fly the TARDIS right now, it could literally end up anywhere in time and space. Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And that would still be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, considering they opened Series 7 with, I believe, Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Which is a Dalek episode. I would assume they would open it with one of their classic villains. Maybe not the Daleks again this time. Maybe a Cybermen episode. Or who knows? They might even do a Slovene episode. Which would be,
as long as it's nothing from Clum.
Bo Rocho Ho Ho Do.
Oh God, I can't remember what those are called. The Jadoon.
Oh, the Jadoon on the moon.
It'd be cool if they do a Jadoon episode.
Oh, I really like the Ood. I love them so much.
The Ood are a great race, but they're not really...
I know. They're not going to bring
race.
them back. I know they're not going to bring them back.
No, they might bring them back.
Well, I mean, not as a villain, of course, but I mean, they might make a cameo, of course. I'm just saying,
never
I love them, though. I just love them as a race, as an alien race.
But they've never been a villain race, even when they were first introduced in. It was that episode with the lost planet that was orbiting a black hole. And even then, when they appeared to be a villain race, they were actually being mind controlled.
Yeah. It was a very touching episode. Oh gosh, and with one of my favorite companions, Donna Noble. Not everybody likes Donna Noble.
I love Donna.
Donna annoyed the hell out of me.
It was a great kind of relationship because she wasn't like this sort of romance-stricken teenage girl. She was like, they were like bros. It was great.
Yeah, and she didn't take any crap from the Doctor, which it's very rare to see that in a companion. I mean, usually the companions are like, okay, they hide it, but they're like falling over. They're falling.
But the problem I have is you went from Donna to fucking Amy Pond, who pretty much was kind of borderlining on abusive of the Doctor.
Kind of. I mean, she was very forceful.
Yeah, she did get kind of rapey there for a moment, didn't she?
Yeah,
a couple of times.
Yeah, couple of times. I mean, even
when she was married to Rory,
too. Right in front of Rory. She had no problem being like, you may definitely kiss the bride.
Yeah, and that's
at the wedding reception.
Yeah, that's part of what I had a problem with Amy Pond is, she was not only sometimes abusive towards the Doctor, she was abusive towards Rory. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest problems I had with her.
But you could almost attribute that to her being a red-headed Scot.
No excuses.
She's Scottish. No, she's Scottish.
Don't care. No excuses.
It's part of the culture. It's part of Scottish culture.
Part of the culture. I mean, it's okay to be abusive towards your husband.
No, I don't think that's ever okay.
Yeah, I don't think she was doing it to be abusive. Come on now. I think that's...
I understand it's part of the culture. I'm pretty sure it was part of the character's makeup, but still, I mean, are we saying this is acceptable?
No, I don't think we are, but not even for Amy.
I think for Amy, I'm okay with it.
I loved Amy's character to death.
I'm in the minority in thinking that, but I think for Amy, just the way the character of Amy is, I think it's okay.
I felt bad for Rory though. I mean, he was just there, suffering throughout, and I just felt really.
Yeah, he was a character that died. He died in almost every episode he was in.
But I do have to think that when he was listening to her and she was calling for him, she was calling for Rory. That's one of the things that I can forgive her to a certain extent, but still it was borderlining on abuse. But I'm getting a signal from James. We need to.
I think we might wrap it up now. Yeah. Doctor Who Series 8 starting in August. So keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Will Wheaton's got a new show. The Will Wheaton Project. Bit of a dick move on his part, getting Ryan Perez fired from, was it Destructoid? Basic Dungeons & Dragons, the rulebook, will be free in July. The release date, I believe, is July 15th. So if you're into D&D, check that out. Check out the 5th edition. And Sherlock Season 4 has been announced, although we do not have a planned release date just yet. So those are the topics. Those were the topics for the show. Check them out, and thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to listen to us shoot the shit. Thank you, Jim, for coming on the show, as always.
Hey, I'm always happy to join in. It's a lot of fun for me, and I enjoy everybody in here.
Thank you, Rachel, for coming on the show, as always.
No, thank you. I love it.
And James, thank you so much for all of your input, especially on the D&D topic.
It's a pleasure, man. It's my specialty.
Don't forget to support your backroom guy. That goes out to the audience as well.
And again, thank you to the audience for listening to us shoot the shit. This is Christian Chesso signing out from Tales from the Infrared. Remember, take the red pill.